You're listening to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, created to help you succeed in your IT Fundamentals certification journey. Learn more at baremetalcyber.com, where additional prepcasts, books, and training materials await. Let's get started. In this episode, we will continue our exploration of programming objects by focusing more deeply on their internal components. Specifically, we will define and distinguish three essential terms: properties, methods, and attributes. These terms help describe how data and behavior are structured inside an object. Understanding what each term means and how it connects to the others will help you recognize object-based concepts on the IT Fundamentals Plus exam. You do not need to write or modify object code, but you must understand how these elements work together. This topic is part of Domain 4 of the IT Fundamentals Plus certification and builds on the object basics discussed in the previous episode. The exam may ask you to identify which part of an object stores a value, which part performs an action, or what an attribute represents in context. These terms are common in object-oriented programming and appear in most high-level languages, even if the exact terminology varies slightly. The focus here is on term recognition and conceptual understanding, not syntax or implementation. Let's begin with properties. A property is a named value that holds data about an object. You can think of it as a variable that belongs to the object itself. For example, a car object might have a property called color that holds the value blue. That color is a piece of information that describes the car and is stored directly inside the object. Other common examples include properties like name, age, height, or status. Properties are used to store both descriptive and functional data. Descriptive data includes information such as a person's first name, while functional data might include something like a countdown timer's current value. Properties can usually be read or updated by accessing them through the object's name, followed by the property name. These values may be strings, numbers, booleans, or even other objects. The IT Fundamentals Plus exam may describe a property as a data field associated with an object. Now let's define methods. A method is a function that is built into an object. While properties store information, methods perform actions. These actions usually relate to the object's purpose or behavior. For example, a car object might have a method called startEngine parentheses, which simulates the car turning on. This method can be called whenever that action needs to occur. The difference between a method and a property is that a property holds a value while a method executes a task. You might access a method the same way you access a property by using the object's name. But when you call a method, you include parentheses, which indicates that the method is being run. A method may use the object's properties to determine what to do. For example, a method might display the object's name or change a property's value. The term attribute is sometimes used in place of property, but it can have a slightly different meaning depending on context. In many beginner-level programming courses and exam settings, attribute is treated as a synonym for property. However, in more advanced contexts, an attribute might include additional formatting, metadata, or descriptive tags. For the purposes of the IT Fundamentals Plus exam, the distinction is not critical. Just know that attribute and property are closely related. A typical object in programming includes multiple components: the object itself, one or more properties, and one or more methods. The object serves as a container that brings everything together. The properties define the object's current state, and the methods define what the object can do. Attributes may be used to annotate or describe those properties further, especially in web development or data modeling. Understanding these relationships helps you visualize how an object functions in a real application. Examples of properties might include name, age, height, price, or quantity. These are values that describe something about the object. Examples of methods might include login parentheses, update status parentheses, or calculate total parentheses. These are actions the object can take. The exam may present one or more of these terms in a table or list and ask you to classify each one correctly. On the IT Fundamentals Plus exam, object component questions may take several forms. You might be given a description such as a value that stores the user's name and asked to choose whether it's a property or a method. You might see a function that performs an update and be asked to label it as a method. Some questions may show a simplified object diagram and ask which part represents an attribute or which action is being called. Recognizing object components helps you interpret programming examples more easily. Even if you never write object code, you'll encounter user interface components, scripts, and error messages that reference objects, properties, or methods. Knowing that a property holds a value and a method performs an action allows you to understand what a program is doing at a conceptual level. This prepares you for a wide range of technical environments, including help desk, support, or data analysis roles. Matching object components to their definitions is a common exam task. When you see the word property, think of it as a named value, something like username, balance, or speed. When you see the word method, think of it as an action, something the object can do, like login, deposit, or accelerate. When you see attribute, it might refer to a tag or formatting descriptor, but in most beginner-level contexts, it functions like a property. Understanding these labels helps with recognition on the exam. Let's consider some examples from everyday software. A user profile in an application might be structured as an object. This user object could have properties such as name, email address, and account status. It might also include methods like login or reset password. These properties store information about the user, and the methods perform actions related to managing the account. Recognizing this structure makes it easier to interpret programming descriptions on the exam. Another example is a product object used in an online store. This object might include properties like product name, price, quantity in stock, and SKU number. It may also contain methods like update inventory, apply discount, or generate receipt. These components work together to describe the product and provide functionality for managing it. Understanding this model helps you distinguish object components in both technical discussions and exam scenarios. Objects are often used to reduce repetition and organize complex behavior. When a program contains hundreds or thousands of elements, such as customers, books, or orders, it is helpful to define one object structure and then reuse it with different values. This encapsulation of both data and behavior keeps code manageable, reusable, and easy to update. Arrays and functions can also work with objects to enhance flexibility. These relationships may be briefly described in scenario-based exam questions. Real-world relationships are often modeled using objects. For example, in a school management system, a student object might include properties like name, ID, grade level, and GPA. The object could also include methods like enroll in class or generate transcript. In a driving simulation, a vehicle object might store speed, fuel level, and location as properties, and include methods like steer, brake, or refuel. These examples help illustrate how objects bring structure to software. When reviewing for the exam, it's important to remember that only conceptual recognition is required. You will not be asked to create, instantiate, or interact with objects in code. You will not need to know object-oriented design patterns or class-based inheritance. Instead, the exam focuses on whether you understand the role of each object component and can match terms like property and method to the correct description. There are a few object-related terms you should memorize. These include object, property, method, and attribute. You should also be comfortable with supporting words such as value, action, and component. These terms will appear in multiple-choice questions, definitions, and matching exercises. If you know what each one means and how they relate to each other, you'll be able to answer these questions accurately and with confidence. You should also prepare for common question formats. One might ask, which of the following is a method, and provide options like login, username, color, and account type. Since login is an action, it's the correct answer. Another might ask, what is the purpose of a property in an object, and expect the answer to reference data storage or description. A third question might ask you to pick the attribute from a list of terms, and you'll need to recognize its descriptive role. It's equally important to understand what the exam will not cover. You will not be tested on object instantiation, inheritance, or polymorphism advanced features used in object-oriented programming. You will not be asked to know language-specific syntax, keywords, or how classes are defined. No code will need to be written, edited, or debugged. The exam focuses only on the ability to recognize and describe terms in plain language. Still, learning object structure now lays the foundation for more advanced programming in the future. Once you're comfortable with properties, methods, and attributes, it becomes much easier to learn how to define objects, pass them around in code, or work with class-based systems in languages like Python, Java, or JavaScript. Even if you never become a developer, understanding how software is organized at this level improves your IT literacy. Object-oriented design is found in everything from mobile apps to web frameworks to game development. Whether you're working in tech support, IT operations, or cybersecurity, you'll encounter software built on these principles. Knowing what an object is and how its components function helps you understand how programs behave, how data is structured, and where problems might occur. It also helps you communicate more effectively with developers and users. Recognizing object components is a practical skill. For example, if you see an error message that says "method not found," you'll understand that the program tried to run an action on an object that wasn't defined. If a configuration setting refers to an attribute like read-only, you'll know it likely describes how a property behaves. This understanding helps you troubleshoot and reason through technical information with more confidence. To summarize, objects are programming structures that combine properties, methods, and sometimes attributes. Properties store values that describe the object. Methods define actions the object can perform. Attributes provide additional description or metadata. On the IT Fundamentals Plus exam, you are expected to recognize each of these components, match them to their purpose, and understand how they fit together to describe a complete programming object. Thanks for tuning in to the Bare Metal Cyber Prepcast, your trusted source for cybersecurity news and insights. Remember to subscribe at baremetalcyber.com so you never miss an update. And visit cyberauthor.me for best-selling cybersecurity books that equip you with expert knowledge. Until next time, stay secure and stay vigilant.